this is QuickSkillz. Today we're going to be doing some tips and tricks for the Super Console X5 Pro. This is not going to be a review video. If you are interested in seeing what this device can do, go to my channel. You will see a video that I posted recently that walks you through some of the consoles that are included on this device, and I even test out some of the games on that video as well. If you have yet to purchase this device, go to the description of this video. I do have a few links there that'll help you find this product for sale. And today's video is really going to be focused mainly on some tips and tricks that I found while using my Super Console X5 Pro and troubleshooting some common problems that came up while I used this device. The first thing I want to show you how to do is change the theme for the UI. All you have to do is hit select on your controller and go to UI settings. There is a theme downloader, but you do not need to use it. You do not need to connect this device to the internet. If you go down to theme, there is a few themes already downloaded and installed on this device. The one that came defaulted on mine is CoinOps, but any change here is going to change the look of your UI. So let's go ahead and select modern. Any theme that you select is going to have some customization, so you can go through and decide how you want to customize your UI. I'm going to leave everything at default. When you exit out, it is going to take a few seconds for it to load up, but this is the UI that the theme that I installed. And you can see here the look is a little bit different. You may love it, you may hate it, but it makes no difference to the emulators or ROM installed on this device. This is simply a cosmetic change to your UI. We're going to check out Diamond. Changing the theme is simply a matter of preference. Since I have the most familiarity with CoinOps, I'm going to leave it on that one. The next change you may want to do is change the sound settings. As you go through the menus, the navigation sounds and videos that play in the background, you may want to turn them on or off. This is really a matter of preference, but this is where that setting is. Input device settings. If you are connecting new controllers to your device, besides the one that came included, this is where you're going to do it. It's important to know that the input devices is really just for the interface, the loader, and not the emulation or ROM. Game collection settings allows you to have additional menus. So I checked all games so that I don't have to go through every single emulator. I could just open up a menu with all the games that are installed and a list of my favorite. You can also turn on last played. I don't use this folder very often, so I left mine unchecked. You can see here there are some ways that you can customize a collection. So if you have a specific genre or game that you want to narrow down on, but I find that favorites is good enough for me. Under other settings, I have not messed with any of these here. I have just left everything by default. Same applies to utilities. One thing I want to show you how to do is mark a game as a favorite. And if we go down this list here, you can see there are a total of 42 games in just this category here. So if we want to make one a favorite, all we need to do is hold the Y button on our controller, and you're going to see it disappears. All that did is it moved it to the top of the list. So the next time you open up Capcom Play System, it's going to be one of the first entries. So I have Cadillacs and Dinosaurs and The Punisher as favorites. Every other game is listed in alphabetical order. If you want to turn that off, all you have to do is hit select, go to UI settings, and scroll down to this section here under UI settings, add stars markings to favorite games. I have that enabled, and sort favorite games above non-favorites. And so those two are selections that I like to have on. And what that's going to do is it's going to put a star by it, but also it's going to put it at the top of your list. The other thing it will do is if we go over to our favorites list, we're going to see those two games that I added are included in this favorite games, and this will apply to any game that we put a star on. Sometimes it might be hard to pick a game. To do random, all you have to do is push in your right joystick. Every time I click it, it's selecting a new game at random. The bigger the list, the less likely you'll see something near what you've already are on. Sometimes when I'm bored and I don't know what to play, I'll just do random and load up a game. If we look at the complete catalog of games, there are 16,000 games in here. If we want to search by title, all we have to do is hit select on our controller. To search by title, all we have to do is push start on our controller, and where it says sort games by and where it says filter game list, all you have to do is select game name. And now we can type anything that we want. I was looking the other day for San Francisco Rush games, and when we exit out, we're going to hit apply, and now it's just going to show us any San Francisco Rush game. Well, actually just anything that has San Fran in the title. What we need to do is go back to sort by games or filter game list, and we need to delete that text so that we can see every title once again. So far, I've showed you a few tips and tricks without even loading a game. The next thing I want to show you is once you're in a game, some tricks that you can do once you've loaded it up. So here we'll load up Ghouls and Ghosts. The next grouping of tips and tricks are going to apply to all Retroarch emulated games. So we are using Retroarch, and what we're going to do is we're going to hold select on our controller and hold the A button down. That's going to pull up this quick menu, and anything that uses Retroarch is going to have settings here that you can use to change either the controls, quick saves, and even change the bevels and the overlays on the screen. So first I want to show you save states. We can save this exact point in time. And so now when we play the game, if we wanted to go back in time, all we have to do is hold select, hold the A, and then we're going to hit load state. And that's going to bring us back to that point. In some of these old coin operated games, that's going to be one of the only ways to beat these games. Sometimes it's just to your benefit to just keep trying a very tough obstacle over and over again. The other thing is if you want to have multiple save states at one time, all you have to do is change the save slot. So we can go back to 1, save state slot 1. We're going to hit save state, and so now when we want to load, we have options. We can load state from state 1, or we can load state, but we have to change it to 0, and that'll load us back to this screen here. And so just be mindful of what save state slot you have selected, and that'll allow you to go back and forth between difficult parts of the game. And this trick will apply to any game that's emulated through Retroarch. You accidentally overwrite one of your saves, you can undo a load state, or you can undo a save, and that's going to come in handy sometimes when you're in a rush loading and saving. There is also a way that you can just quick save from the game. So here I am running. If I just hold select and right bumper, that's going to save without having to go into that menu. And now let's say I get hit by this obstacle here, I can hold select and left bumper, and that's going to bring me back to this spot once again without having to go through the menu. And this is where sometimes you might mean to load state, but instead you save state, and now you're back to a spot that you didn't want to be. And that's where you might want to undo your save state. The next thing I want to show you is how to change the screen. So right now there is a shader enabled. If we turn off the shader, this is going to give you more of a traditional screen where the shader that is turned on by default gives it a pixelated screen, which kind of emulates the using of a old school television. But if you do not like that effect and instead you want to have more honest graphics, then turning off the shader is what you'd want to do. And I'll show you again. We're going to hit select. We're going to go all the way down to shaders, and now I'm going to turn it back on. You may want it on, you may want it off, but this is how you can switch back and forth. And I kind of like this effect. It kind of gives you that CRT filter, very similar to that shader. The other thing that we can do is we can actually turn off the bevels. And so it is actually listed as on-screen overlay. And all we're going to do is turn that off. And now we don't have anything on the left and right of the screen. It's just black. So if you know you're going to play this game for a while and you're concerned about burn-in, then that is one way that you can prevent burn-in on your screen. Hold select, go down to on-screen overlay, hit display overlay, and you can see there are different settings you can do as well. Within that, we're just going to leave it at the default. When you're done with your game, all you need to do is hit start and select at the same time, and that's going to help you exit out of the screen. When you do it one time, it says press again to quit, and that'll bring you out of the game. And so that is going to apply for all Retroarch games. What I find a lot of people are wanting to do is they want to remap their controller. So let's pull up a fighting game. That's typically where to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. So let's say you have a fighting stick connected to your device and you want to remap it to your exact specifications. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to hold select and A on your controller. And from this menu, you're going to go down to controls. From controls, you're going to go to port 1 controls or port 2 controls, depending on which one is connected. Port 1 is the controller that I have connected here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to check and see what settings we have. So we have D-pad up, D-pad down, left, right. And then here are the selections for weak kick, medium kick, weak punch, medium punch. The coin slot, that's going to be select. That's how you add credits on a machine. Start button is how you enter. Strong punch is going to be the left shoulder. Strong kick is going to be the right shoulder. And there is nothing selected for the bumper buttons on this one. There's nothing selected for the pushing of the joystick in either. And there are no analog selections made for this game. And so when we play this game, those are the default controls. And so we can see weak kick, medium kick, and then heavy kick. I do want to point out that heavy kick is actually coming in as a bumper, not as a trigger, which it didn't match the graphic. We did a heavy punch right there. And so now, let's say we wanted to reverse those inputs. I don't know why, or put the kicks on the top and the punches on the bottom. So what we'll do is we'll hold select and A. We're going to go down to controls. We're going to go to port 1 controls. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change this to weak punch. We're going to change this to weak punch or medium punch. We're going to change this to weak kick. We're going to change this to medium kick. And then over here, we're going to change this to strong kick. We're going to change this to strong punch. And now when we exit out and go to resume game, when I push the bottom button on my controller, that's a punch. And everything is mapped the way I would expect it to be. I know visually, all you're seeing me is punch and kick, but I am verifying that the punch and kick match the changes that I made to my controller. And so that is going to be how you remap a controller in Retroarch. Alright, the next trick I'm going to show you how to do is actually for the included Gamesir T3 controller. It does have a button that allows you to enable turbo. So right now, every time you see me swing the sword, I am pressing the button down. So right now I'm holding it down. It just swings at one time. And so to turn on turbo, you're going to hold down the turbo button and then the button that you would like to select. And so now you can see my character is swinging their sword as fast as possible. And all I'm doing is holding down that button. Right now, I can press jump. And if I want to jump multiple times, I have to press the button each time. So we're going to hold down the turbo button and the jump button. And now my character can jump like crazy. And there is a clear button on the screen, on the controller. It actually does not do anything unless you tap the clear button twice and then any button on your controller. So we're going to do clear, clear, and then I'm going to press the A button. And now my turbo has been turned off. Surprisingly, there is very little information about the T3 online. And so I was able to figure this out on my own, but the intuitive ways of holding down the clear button and then the button that you want to turn off is not what you would do. Holding down the clear button until it blinks also does nothing. The only way I was able to turn off turbo was to tap the clear button twice and then the button A or B, and that turned off turbo. And you have to do it immediately after tapping the button twice. So if you do clear, clear, and then A, and it's still not working, try clear, clear, A a lot faster, and that'll turn off turbo. Some games are going to have their own emulator installed, and it's not going to load through Retroarch. So here we have San Francisco Rush for the Nintendo 64. It's going to play a little bit differently. Pushing start and select is not going to do anything. What you're going to need to do is use the controller that came with the device. Hopefully you kept yours. And all you're going to do is hit the back button on that remote. So I am using the remote that came included. You can see here that we have some options from this emulator. We can change the game speed. We can create a screenshot. We can load and save just like we did in Retroarch. We're not going to mess with that, but it's going to work exactly the same. And then to exit out, all we're going to want to do is hit this exit button. And so we'll just go ahead and test the save slot real quick. And so now as we cross the Golden State Bridge, we're going to hit the back button. We're going to go to load slot. So we're saving slot 0. And let's exit the Golden State Bridge. Now we're going to load slot. And now we're back on the Golden State Bridge. So it is working. One thing that I did there is I was using the remote to select load and save slot. But what you have to make sure you do is that little mouse cursor, it's going to click wherever it's pointed at. And it's a little finicky. So I actually use the controller to select load and save. And what we're going to do now is we're going to exit out of N64. This really only applies to N64. So this is how you're going to exit out of the game. You're going to use their included remote to pull up this menu, and then with your controller, you're going to hit exit. And when you exit out, if you did do a save slot, you will be able to load it up again. Once you come back later and you want to play San Francisco Rush, all of your memory will be saved to that load slot. So from here, we're back in our game after exiting out. So if you want to invest a lot of time into an N64 game and want to make sure that the data is saved, then you're going to do that load save slot. Otherwise, any in-game function you have for saving will also work as well. Next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to exit out of PlayStation 2 games. And so here we have Burnout. This is Burnout 1 for the PlayStation 2. And one thing I'm going to show you is if you push down the left joystick and the right joystick, that's going to pull up this menu here. We've seen this before. You can save the state. And I like it when you select save slot, you can actually pick where you want to put the save. So we're going to put it in save slot 1. And by pushing A, it automatically brings us back into the game. Now all we need to do is push down our joysticks, go to load state. It's going to ask us which one we want to load. Here we want to load save state 1. And the great thing is that, again, you can get very invested in your PlayStation 2 games. And all you have to do is do a quick save here. And if you want to have multiple save slots, you can jump back and forth. Depending on the game that you're playing, that may be beneficial. And so we can see here we're loading between slot 1 and slot 2. And it's quite easy to switch in and out. The next thing is when you're ready to exit the game, all you have to do is hit this button here, exit game. You also have the ability to change discs. That was a thing. Sometimes the games are split over multiple discs, and so that's how you're going to do that. And then reset console, that's just to restart your game. And the cool thing is that if you do restart your game, all you have to do is you can load a state, and it'll jump you right back where you left off. And so that is PlayStation 2 tips and tricks. Consoles like the NES or the Super NES are going to use Retroarch, so let's just load up an NES game. And you can see by holding select and A, we can access Retroarch, and it's going to have the same tips and tricks of turning off the pixelation and turning off bezels, in case that's something you're interested in doing. So that is with the shader turned off, and that is also with the bevel turned off. So let's turn them back on for comparison. And so now you can see it looks like we're playing on an old CRT TV, and we have bevels on the left and the right that say NES. And again, it's strictly a matter of preference to exit out of console games like the NES, Sega Game Gear, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. All you'll do is those selections. And we're going to hit start and select to exit out. Now, this is a big tip and trick, some optimization for the Nintendo GameCube. So what we're going to do to show you this is I'm going to load up Luigi's Mansion and show you the problem I had. And it happened off screen, but when I hit A, the game didn't load. Pushed A again, and it loaded the second time. Not sure why that happens. So we are now playing Luigi's Mansion. You can see his flashlight is kind of a solid cone. And so we know that that is not the best version of Luigi's Mansion. Now, there is a fix for this, and I don't know if other GameCube games have similar graphical issues, and maybe that this fix will apply to them as well. But if you are having some graphical issues with your game in a GameCube game, because I'm not going to play every single one of them to see if this is a fix for every single one of them, but if you are having any graphical issues, I'm going to recommend this tip here. So the first thing I did is I use the remote that came with my device, and I hit the back button on it, and that's going to give us some emulation controls. And if we go down to settings, we can select graphics settings. One thing you're going to see is that Vulkan has been selected, and it says that this setting cannot be changed while the game is running. So what we need to do is we need to exit out. And so to exit out, all we have to do is select this where it says exit emulation, and that's going to bring us back to this menu. From here, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the home button on the remote that came with your device, and you're going to select this option right here. And what that's going to do is allow you to access Dolphin, which is the emulator that is running the GameCube and the Wii, and we're going to hit this settings icon. From here, we're going to go to graphics setting, and now that we're not inside of Luigi's Mansion, we can hit video backend, and we're going to switch this to OpenGL. This is going to apply to every single GameCube game that you have, so if you keep this setting on, it will only apply while this setting is on for every GameCube and Wii game that you select. And now that I have Luigi's Mansion back up, we can see that the cone of light of Luigi's flashlight is going to be fixed. And so that is using the fix, and you can see that the game is now much more representative of the GameCube version of Luigi's Mansion. Again, to exit out of a GameCube game, all you're going to do is hit the back button on your remote, and from there you can use your remote or you can use your controller to select exit emulation. There are still quite a few settings that I did not touch on in this video, but the last thing I want to show you is how to properly power down this device. I find that a lot of the settings, the default setting is fine. You do not need to do any tinkering unless you know what you're doing. I would not mess with any of the settings that I have showed you here today, but to properly exit out of the game, all you're going to do is you're going to hit select on your controller and you're going to hit quit at the bottom of the screen. What that'll do is bring you back to your Super Console X5 loader. And from here, you're going to use your remote and you're going to hold down the power button. By holding down the power button, you will see this menu here where it says power off. We're going to press the A button and it's going to shut down your device. From here, what I do is I unplug it, and I will not plug it back in until I'm ready to use it again. You can leave it plugged in and use the power button on your controller. So you can see here I powered it on by leaving it plugged in, but personally speaking, I leave mine unplugged. When you plug it back in, it'll automatically start up. You will not have to push the power button on the remote, but you can see here I did restart it by powering it down, leaving it plugged in, and pressing the power button to start it back up. Another thing I want to mention is that the external hard drive that comes with it, I do have the 4 terabyte version at home. It does get very hot, so you want to make sure that it is in an area where it can get a lot of air, or you can even consider getting a SSD case for the hard drive because it does generate a lot of heat. And I've been playing for hours without any issues, but I do want to mention that I do keep it out in the open where it can get a lot of air and breathe. I do feel that for the money that this is a very powerful device. It does have a lot of value in terms of what games it can run, what comes already installed, and that the default settings for the most part are going to get the job done. As you can see, there were a few little things that help you to know how to use this device, like powering down the device, turning off the bevels, turning off the pixelation on the games if you need to, how to quick save, how to load a game, how to access the emulators. One thing I didn't touch on is that we did go to the Dolphin emulator to mess with some of the settings here. Again, I did not feel the need to go in and mess with the settings for the N64, but you can see here we can mess with the settings for the N64. There is also other emulators in here that you can access. So Retroarch, we did a lot of changing within Retroarch, but here we have the PlayStation emulator. We have Drastic, which is used for the DS. I would say unless you know what you're doing, do not mess with the settings that are in these emulators. The only one that really came to my rescue was changing that Vulkan setting within the GameCube under Dolphin. Everything else, I loaded up just about every game that I could, and the default settings were sufficient for me. So this is QuickSkillz. If you have any other questions about the Super Console X5 Pro, leave me a comment at the bottom. Thank you so much for watching. You have a good day.